Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, the IYT, the USO, the UUP, and the GLD. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly timeframes. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. Go to my website, sign up for a free membership for more videos like this, some live intraday action, and some trade ideas into some education and good stuff like that. All right, well, let's get right to the daily SPY. And guys, we talked about this bullish pattern here, setting up above the 20 MA here, and it's starting to take off. Let's see if we could get through these areas of resistance and get through the 232. Then I'm thinking maybe 235. But let's see if we could get above this first, then we confirm, and then possible higher prices. But you know what? The pattern's not bad. If you're bearish, you need to come right back down, fill this gap, and get below this trend line here. We get below that, we'll hit the 50. We'll go right to this pivot and then, start filling gaps. Then there is a big gap filled down here around 208, so I wouldn't rule that out. But we still are at the all-time highs. Let's see if we could grind up and get above in this area before we have the next move down, lower. Guys, 8-year bull rally coming up in March, so just keep that in mind. Bull rallies, they could go 8 years, but then they start getting long in the tooth. Usually they go 7, sometimes 6, stuff like that. But we're just a little bit long in the tooth, so just be aware of that. Go to the weekly chart. Weekly chart, same thing. You had a great bullish inside bar, a little choppy, sloppy here. When it pulled back, then popped up, it was like, okay, you got to respect that. Came back in, lower trend line popping off that, right into the upper trend line here, and then 230, and then as well as the 231, 59 area, whatever it might be right in there, 579. So we'll see how it goes if it does pop up in there. Tomorrow will be the Friday close for the weekly, and we'll know more. If it pops up, great. If it drops, then we'll be watching for that. Either way, you know what? It can go anyway right now. We're at all-time highs, and that you can't rule anything out at this point. Let's look at the IWM weekly chart setting up. This is a bullish inside bar here. As long as we stay above this low around the 132, that this thing's possibly going to go higher, guys. You can't rule it out. We are breaking above this trend line now. Let's see where we close. This is the weekly, so let's see if where we close tomorrow on Friday, and then we'll reevaluate this chart here. But right now, nothing wrong with these things above the MAs, setting up to go higher. You gotta just step aside if it does. Right now, here's that trend line that we talked about. We are above, and they gapped it above, and we did close a little bit weak today, but nothing wrong. Let's see if we go sideways, consolidation, moving average crossover, then the next pop up, go into the 140, then maybe 145. Who knows? At this point, 140, 141, 142, you're just going to follow the even numbers and then see where there's resistance. I could try to figure out some areas, but it's going to be 145, 150 if the markets really go. If it can't get through this here and comes back in, then you'll probably get lower prices. If you're bearish, you need to get back below the 20 and the 50 MA, and you need to crack this trend line. And I think, you could probably fill some gaps down in here. And then you're going to ultimately come into the 200 MA, and then you got the gap down here around 115. But nothing wrong. You're back above the MA. It's a little bit weak today, but nothing crazy. Right now it's just the crazy times in the markets. Euphoric, Dow 20,000, all that great stuff. IWM weekly, like I said, not a bad pattern as long as it stays above this green line or the green bar here. Not a problem. Let's see if we close above the blue line, the 750 retrace tomorrow on the weekly close. This is the weekly chart. Qs just ripping. Weekly chart right into this upper trend line, from these highs to these pivots right up into here. Let's see if it could take it through it and possibly shoot for the 130 area. We're at 125 and this trend line coming up. So let's see if it comes in and then rejects it and comes back down. So keep an eye on the weekly chart for the weekly close, which is tomorrow. If you're on the daily chart, there's that upper trend line. We do have a little doji, but we're still just hovering over the 20 MA. We're starting to make a move. I'd like to see more volume, but a little bit weak today. 13 cents up, nothing crazy. But again, that and the Dow or the DIA was up a little bit, but the Dow was up 32.4, so not a bad showing on the day. For just kind of grinding. Daily chart, nothing wrong. Weekly chart, again, nothing wrong. Running into this upper trend line. Let's see if we go. If we get above it, 130 and then possibly higher. At this point, I can't rule anything out. Weekly chart in the DIA gets above 20,000 or $200 area. Gets above. Let's see if we can stay, and then next week start ripping up, and then close up into the 204, 205 area, and then possibly higher prices from there. This is a slightly bullish pattern. We talked about this tail. It did get above it. I want to see confirmation. If we do, then possible higher prices, or we'll look at this again when that time comes, guys. This is a weekly chart. Friday's close. We'll take a look at it tomorrow. Daily chart, but same thing. Nice bullish pattern. We are back above. We did close above the all-time high and confirm. I think we did. It looks like it. And so we could get higher prices, guys. Let's see if it could rip higher. If you're bearish, you need to have it pull back, fill the gap, get below the 20 MA, and then start, stair stepping down on the 20 MAs, filling gaps, and so on and so forth. But we haven't hit the 200 MA for a little bit, for a little bit of time, and it always likes to come back home. This is home base. So as long as it's floating and floating and floating, eventually it will get to this area at one point. Where that meets, I don't know. But just beware. Longs, tighten up the stops. Again, 8-year bull run coming up. We're a little bit long in the tooth, and you don't want to be stuck when this thing starts to come in. I can't rule out higher prices first, though, guys. All right, these markets, guys, have amazed me. So the IYT even too. This wasn't a bad bullish pattern, though. Took off, went into the double top, pulled back. Now it's making another run. Now does this start leading it? So you got to keep an eye on this as well. So markets are a little bit crazy right now, guys. The IYT's coming up the double top. Does this pull back, or does it close above, and confirm and go higher, or does it pull back and come right back in, get below the moving averages, crack this area of support, and then just start going? If you're not short these indexes at all, you got to take a stab at these things, guys. Just a little tiny bit, in my opinion. Just my gosh, we're long in the tooth. Great areas. You could stop out on these at 175, a couple bucks higher. So even if you took like 100 shares of this thing, comes back down $5-6, you just take the 600 and out. Quick trades, guys. That's what we're trying to do here. Markets are tough right now, so you got to respect these things. If you're buying puts, you're getting murdered every month. If you're going out on options X, if you're playing the S&P for weekly closes, maybe on spreads, it's tough. You get these light volume markets, and these guys know where they need to close this stuff, guys. So just be aware of that if you're playing those. Right now it's we're 15 points down on the S&P, and then it runs 17 in 3 days. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? So just be careful in these markets, guys. Put some smaller positions on, do some buy and holds, and let these things ride out a little bit. But if you're not short these indexes, you got to give it a little bit of a shot. With all these things at double top and everything, if they break out, we'll know, and you're pretty much at the top. You can have real tight stop outs. So IWT or IYT, the USO, and I'm just blabbing away here, guys. Sorry about that. Daily chart, USO, nothing wrong. We're up on the day, 22 cents. Dollar was up with it, though. Wow, it's magically going together now. So they popped it back above the 20 MA. Still a little bit bearish, but still bullish above the MA. So you have to say, hey, okay, you know what? You gave it a shot. You're back up above there. Let's see if we can stay above it. USO with the OPEC stuff coming up, they're trying to get these prices higher. So you got that. If you're bullish, though, this is the first step. Then you maybe you got, there's a couple pivots here. There's a gap fill. But if it gets to the $12 area, if you're bullish, $12.50, maybe a little bit higher. There's a pivot, $13, and I think there's one right around $13.50 or so too, a little pivot. So that's what you're looking for on there. If you're bearish oil, you need to get back below the MAs, and I think you can get back here and possibly to the $10, maybe, 986, 989 area down in here. We'll see how this thing goes and how these patterns go out. Weekly chart, we'll see the close, but right now nothing wrong on the weekly. You're above the MAs here. You're holding strong, slightly bullish pattern. Again, if you're bullish, you need to start making a run here. If you're bearish, you need to get below the MAs, hit this trend line, and then maybe possible lower prices. One step at a time with this stuff, guys. And then the UUP, like I said, that thing was up on the day. It was up 17 cents, so it did catch the bid off this bottom here. Almost a 20 MA on the weekly. It is bouncing. Let's see if we could get back above the green line here and possibly close tomorrow on the Friday close, for the weekly at least. Daily chart, nothing wrong, right back into here. This is what we've been pretty much getting. It moves up, then it retraces, moves up, it retraces, moves up, retrace, moves up. This was a little bit better retrace than before, so you must have had a lot of longs getting up in here waiting for the next leg up. And then they, took it down one more time, hit support down here. And honestly, it could fill the gap and come to this trend line here. You got the 200 MA down here. You can't rule this out either. So one day at a time. You know what, though? Let's look at that. We're back above that too. Not the best or the worst trend line. A little bit steep, but look at that. Got below and then boom, right back up there. So keep an eye on that trend line too. That's the UUP. But again, this thing went up, oil went up, and then the GLD is going down. So the GLD is kind of intact with the dollars. This thing's been moving up last couple of days, or they're moving down or no up. Oh my gosh, it's been a long day, guys. But it's been a little bit intact where it's been going up and this thing's been pulling back a little bit today. So the dollar was up today, and that's why I think you got the pullback. You are still above the MAs, so as long as you're staying on the daily chart above the MAs, you're still in a pretty good stance. A little bit weak here. Let's wait for pattern, or it might gap down and just start going lower, guys. So just be aware we could go back, fill this gap here. Maybe the 10, 110 area, you do have a gap down here at 109 as well, and then you have trend line. So don't rule it out that we can't pull back. It did it here on this one, and then it came back in, but let's one day at a time. Let's see tomorrow's close. Let's look at everything, and then we can try to determine which way these things are going. On the weekly chart, same thing, right into the 20 MA, 50% retrace, and it's coming back. I thought for sure we'd get back. Everything's overshooting. We go long, guys, and of course, it hits the first area and starts pulling back. But we're still, we're still not out of the woods with a good trade. Let's see if we get some more consolidation and possibly move up again. So right now, though, pretty good resistance up in here. So you have to say, okay, you know what? We had a pretty good run off the double bottom. Not double bottom, but this little pivot, this little gap down here. Then we have the new trend line up in there. But we had a nice little bounce area down in here, and it bounced. And is this as hot as steam, or is this thing going to set up for possible higher prices, or is it just going to start breaking down and go right back to the lows again? If it does, then I would start adding again right here and see if you can get lower prices here or average your prices down. And then again, you still have this area here, 105, and then the 101.49 area too. So yeah, let's just see if we could get a pattern out of this thing on the weekly. Let's go back to the daily really quick here. Yeah, daily we're still above the MA, so we're still okay. All right, guys. Again, thanks for coming watching my videos. It's been a little bit, last couple weeks been really crazy. I've been doing most of my stuff on StockTwits, taking some short-term trades. Even if I'm not taking trades, guys, I'm going to post it out there. I am spread pretty across the board right now, so even if I don't get into something, I'll throw a trade out there and say, hey, this is a good area. This thing could pull back. Check it out. That could be a possible. But you got to keep an eye on the markets. If you have 59 million on the SPY and it's just floating around, these things can overshoot, guys. So you got to be careful. You got to go light with positions. And right now, I'm spread all around with a bunch of swing trades. And hopefully each and one are going to come in slowly but surely. Because markets like this, I'd rather just go out, guys, and have fun and enjoy life, do some little bit of golfing, and see some family. Do some lunches with some friends and some clients and stuff like that. That's what I'm trying to do right now. So, but we're going to get back into some live stuff and sign up for my website. We'll get some emails out there. We might start doing some stuff on GoToMeeting, a little more personal stuff like that, where we get the people that are serious about trading and what they want to look at and some possible trade ideas, learning technicals and stuff like that. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks again for coming to watch my videos. I really do appreciate it. And next time, we'll see where this thing closes tomorrow. So on the week, I'm going to look at some weekly closes. If you guys see any high flyers, anything like that, shoot me off an email and we'll go from there. Thanks again, guys. God bless. See you on the charts.